What is up, viewer out there watching this video? Lego Rock's back here, and as you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, the year is 2041, 2042. It's 2041 right now. I'm just going to say it's 2042 because this is the last year of GM mode. This is year 25, and I've been on this same save file ever since November 18th. I actually have everything tracked down on a spreadsheet in notes where I have every lineup, every trade, every draft pick, every set of awards that has been awarded throughout this one saved file of GM mode. So I really do take my GM modes kind of seriously, and I have everything recorded, and it's all on a spreadsheet right here. So if you guys have any questions about this specific GM mode in the perspective of the Vancouver Canucks organization, I'll be able to answer that right away. So what I wanted to be doing right here is taking a look at what the league looks like in the year 2042. Now, it is 2041, but I don't think these lineups are going to change come the 2042 playoffs because I have injuries off and everything. I don't like playing with injuries. So overall, let's just take a look right away at what we've got so far. I'm going to take a look at the Vancouver Canucks first because obviously that's our team. So you guys are going to get pissed off about this. This is actually the same lineup that I've been using for all the videos I've been making about the Canucks and everything. This is the save file. I just play the third period of games, I sim the first two, I play the third, I play the third and I record it, and I use that gameplay of the third period for these videos. So overall, this team, I'm gonna be honest, it's stacked. It's a very stacked team, and the reason it's stacked is because, well, it's the last season. I wanted to go out with a bang and win the cup. So I got these two free agents, Edwin Pickard and Nelson McCollum. Harry Rupp, he's been on the team for a while. Hey, Olash, Sestito, this top six, which is an absolutely filthy top six, they've been in the videos. I mean, I've made videos about these guys, and wait a minute, no, it's actually scrambled. So you guys actually haven't seen these guys yet, because the gameplays I recorded of these players, they're not being used yet. They're still on my hard drive. I'm still going through gameplays from the year 2038, I believe. So yeah, newsflash, I record all my gameplays in advance. So taking a look at the 2042 lineup of the Canucks, we got ourselves a stacked top 9, actually. Harry Rupp, despite being only 83 overall, he's a very good player. 48 points in his last season, 27 goals in his last season. He was drafted by us in the 4th round. He's a good steal. All these guys, the only ones that were drafted by us are Holweg, Hay, Olash, and then, Law. No, he wasn't. Yeah, no, all these guys aren't draft picks of us. Devin Higgins was actually 1st overall, but he was a bust, so he's only making $3 million. Going on to defense, Joseph Orr is here. Harry Zanetti was somebody we were able to get in a trade, and Andy Motzko. You'll notice that he was drafted in the very most recent draft in the 6th round as a low elite defenseman, 84 overall. He was actually NHL ready after we drafted him, so that's awesome. Vyacheslav Vatsunov was the 1st overall pick from the year before. He's been playing in a few gameplays. You'll see him down the line as I upload more Canucks videos and the gameplays. They're just gonna have these players. So Sam Zhao, he won the Calder, or not the Calder, he won the Norris Trophy a few years in a row. You can see over here that he was drafted by New York. He actually won the Norris a few times for the Rangers, but then he had a few down years over here, and then after he signed a free agency contract with the Canucks, he got himself 2 Norrises, 71.69 points as a defenseman, and looking at the contract, you might think, oh, how do you have such a stacked team where, like, look at these overalls and look at the contracts. How do you have such a stacked team? Well, the reason the team works like this is because the salary cap is actually huge. The salary cap is at $144 million, so we can afford $20 million players like Sam Zhao. I actually did the math. If you took $19 million and divided that into $144 million, which is the salary cap, let's just go ahead and take a look at what the salary cap is right now. I believe it's $144 million, and Sam Zhao is 19. So yeah, it's $144 million. Sam Zhao is $19 million. If you take a percentage of that, that's around $13 million that's around 13% of the entire entire cap being spent on one player. And if you convert that to the current NHL salary cap, which is $75 million, Sam Zhao would only be making $10 million. So, in perspective, it makes sense for us to have this amount spent up into these players. And Sam Zhao, he was 91 overall last season and the season before that. He's only dropping because he's aged. And that's what the Vancouver Canucks look like. Looking at our goaltenders, Kelly Bembridge is a franchise goaltender. We got 8th overall in the 2033 draft. So we've got a good team here in Vancouver. This is the last year of GM mode, so that's why I wanted to go out with a bang and get a whole bunch of stacked players, because I just wanted a really stacked team to win the cup for the last year of the GM mode. So we're going to go and look at the lines of all of the other teams just to see where everybody is at in the year 2042, because it's the last year of GM mode, and it's year 25, guys. It's year 25. Year 1 was 2017, 2018, and year 25 is 2041-42. So, looking at the Anaheim Ducks, they got a really good first line, and the rest of their depth, I mean, their depth doesn't really trail off, like, ever. This guy probably shouldn't even be playing, but he's probably an aged vet that they're giving the opportunities here because he's been on the team for a long time, as you can see. Stuart Shelley. A lot of these names, it doesn't really matter about the names because you guys won't remember any of these names. So Anaheim, they've got a really good offensive core. Carl Rudewell is a very good defenseman, and he's on their team as well. Morgan Morrow is over here. Voros and Heikkinen, McLean. Looking at their goaltending is very good as well. Takasek is a very, very good goaltender. Looking at the next team over here, Yves LeBlanc, he's been good. He might have shown up in a few gameplays. Going over to the starting lineups, their forward core, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just consistent. You got a fourth line that's not really that much of a step down from their first line, but in the first place, their first line isn't really that good. They had a lot of good veterans retire on them, and overall, the best player that they have is their goaltender, by far. So, Arizona doesn't really look like they're going to be a good team. Looking over to Boston, they've got Clarence Grimes. He's a really good player. They've got the Rankin brothers. We actually made a trade to send the Rankin brothers over to the Boston Bruins from the Vancouver Canucks. You might have seen the Rankins play for the Canucks in some of the gameplays I've used earlier this year. Same thing with the Sagans. We had Daniel Sagan and Kelvin Sagan as well, and we sent those guys over to the Bruins in a trade that I believe sent Tyler Gore back to Vancouver. So, yeah. Timothy Roenick is over here too. He's good. Overall, the Bruins have a solid team. I mean, they're really carried by this one player over here. These two guys are both really good players. Bucenius is a really good player. He looks like he's going to be becoming really good as well. And their defense isn't bad. I mean, 84 overall. It's top 4 but they're capable top 2s, especially since they're brothers. And yeah, I mean, I love having brothers playing on the teams. And for some reason, NHL 18 really makes it so that brothers do get existing in this game. So, moving over to Buffalo, they have Granato and Granato. Granato and Granato were actually two brothers that the Canucks had as well. We sent them over here in a trade. I believe we got, I forgot who we got back. I think it might have just been like a first or something. I'm going to go back into my spreadsheet and looking for the trade that we had with Buffalo that sent the Granatos over to Buffalo. Okay, so Granato and Granato were sent over to Buffalo for Cedric Hay. Okay, that makes sense. Cedric Hay is the guy that we have on our team. And yeah, you're starting to see all of this play because everything's coming into place right now. Tyler Gore on the Canucks, he was drafted by Boston. Cedric Hay was, actually no, not Cedric Hay. It was another Hay. We have another Hay that starts with a C. I got rid of him in free agency. Never mind, that was irrelevant. So, Vanden Bush, he's here. O'Mara, this defensive core isn't really that good. Goalies, it's not really that good either. I mean, he might be a decent fringe starter, but overall, these two guys are really the heart and soul of the Buffalo Sabres. Going over to Carolina, Leonard Hart was somebody who used to be really good, used to be a 90 overall player. He dropped to 80 overall in 2 seasons. He's still on that first line, though. So, overall, their forward core isn't that bad. I mean, Emelin is probably their most underrated player over here. Defensive core, yeah, that's a bad defensive core. I mean, it's capable, but it's not really that good. Dustin Millen over here, he's a good goaltender. Columbus Blue Jackets, they got a stacked first line. They really just let themselves go on this first line, and you can see it in the contracts. Other than that, though, I mean, Brock Habschied is over here. He used to be really good. He was really good for the Canucks, but then after he had a Calder-winning season, he just dropped off. Actually, no, that's not fair to say that he dropped off. He's still getting, like, 50-point seasons, so that's good for him. But 83 overall, drafted 17th, it's not really that good in comparison to what he could have been, especially after winning the Calder for the Vancouver Canucks. So, yeah, I mean, going over to their defensive core, they got Clifford DeMello, and that's really, really good. So, goaltending, yeah, no, that's not really that good. So, Columbus has a good forward core in terms of their first line and their depth. Their defense is solid, I guess. Farrell is their worst defenseman, and he's only 79 overall. He's a top 6 defenseman. Calgary over here, they got a good defensive core, but their forward core really lacks outside of these 2 guys. Actually, no, that's not fair to say. They got really strong depth. Their bottom 6, or their third line, might be the best third line in the game, other than, well, the Vancouver Canucks third line. Their defensive core, it's good. I mean, these are 2 capable top 2 defensemen, so that's good. Ronnie Gordon might actually be on the fringe of becoming a top 4 defenseman later, but their depth, Lambert and Santuar Vori, don't really look like good bottom 6 defensemen. Goaltending, though, they got a really good goaltending tandem in Long and McPherson, so the Flames are set for a few years. Chicago, they've got such a good forward core. Clarence Boyce, Evan Reed, and Dale Buckley. This is that 1-2-3 punch. And even though Hicketts is on that first line, he used to be a really good player. He's 34 years old now. He had really good seasons, but he dropped off. He used to be like an 88, 89 overall player, but he's old now, so he's dropped. Buckley, though, he's still good. Pacioretty is good. They got a good center core overall and a good set of wingers. You won't find an AHL player on here for sure. All these guys are like 3rd or 4th liners in the bottom 6, and overall they got a good team. Their defensive core, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. The worst player over here, Donovan, is still a capable top 6, and in terms of goaltending, Burgundy, he's a good player. He's drafted 16th overall by the Vancouver Canucks. We sent him over to the Chicago Blackhawks in a trade. I forgot what we were able to require, but yeah. Going over to Colorado, Ryan Pan. Now, Ryan Pan, he's 85 overall, but he's a very good player, and he had 2 really good seasons while he was playing with Pettersson and Besser. He was the 3rd winger on that line, and you guys might have seen it in a few gameplays I've already uploaded on my channel, but Ryan Pan was able to get 90 points playing alongside Besser and Peterson, and then he got traded to, he didn't get traded, he got sent over in free agency because he didn't want to resign, and he ended up going to the Avalanche, and he's getting consistent 60-point seasons with the Avalanche now, so that's good for him as a 32-year-old. McArdle is also somebody that we got to. This top line is actually really good, even though the overalls don't really suggest it. Nichols, McArdle, and Pan, even though these 2 guys are 84 and 85 overalls, this is still a very good top line, and their depth doesn't trail off. So I think you're seeing sort of a pattern here with the teams in the NHL, in that their depth isn't trailing off. There are so many good NHL players, and there are so many players in the NHL that deserve to be here. There are so many players that actually have a spot in the team. Per Ekman is a very good player. Despite being only 84 overall, he's getting a lot of points. Look at the 69 points, 51 points, and Ekman is a very good player. Paired with Rodney Drury, Dallas has a really good offensive core, and as you can see, just like every other team in the league, their depth doesn't trail off. Same thing with their defense. You won't find any non-NHL players on these teams. Goaltenders, Vauclair is 90 overall, that's really good. Piespanen for the Detroit Red Wings, he's their starter. I don't know why he's listed here. I think it's just a preseason thing. He's very good. He almost won the Vezina last season. Starting lineups, Raymond Edwards is the best player in the game, by far. He's the best player in the game, best forward in the game, hands down. and he doesn't really get the points to show for it. I mean, he had consistent 80-point seasons, but his team really didn't stand for him there in the next season. He dropped off in assists heavily. But other than that, you know, this team is a good team. All of these teams are good teams. And the depth difference between the second lines and the fourth lines of all these teams, it isn't really that, like, significant. If you look at all of the teams, even Edmonton. Edmonton's got a really good core. Their defense isn't bad, and their goaltending, it's good too. So overall, you can just take a look at the patterns of all of these teams, and you can just see all of their depths. It's good. And I think, oh goodness, Kadri is a very good player. So, taking a look at the league when you're in the year 2041, 2042, and taking a look at all the players that you got, there's actually, it becomes rare when you're playing this late in the GM mode to see a player get 100 points. And that sucks. We're in a new dead puck era here, and I would have made a video about this earlier, but I didn't really think about it until now. But really, when you're looking at the league when it's this late into a GM mode, because it's year 25, all the teams are so good defensively that every team, like the league average for goals for per game is 2. It sucks. Like, the highest point totals that you'll see from any player in the league at this stage of a GM mode, oh boy, Kenneth Von Arx has really dropped off. He used to be really good. He used to be like Vezina-winning goaltender, but now he's 79 overall at 40 years old. They're going the Marty Brodeur route, the New Jersey Devils. I mean, it's expected. They've done it before with Brodeur, literally, but now they're doing it with Von Arx. The Devils love their goaltenders, but back to the main point. Once you're getting this late into the GM modes, the goals, they stop coming, and really, when you have an Art Ross winner that's 82 points in a season, and it's consistent like that, like the Art Ross winner is consistently at 82 points, 80 points, sometimes not even cracking a point per game. Sometimes there's only one player who gets a point per game, and that's the Art Ross winner. It sucks. We're in a dead puck era here because there are just so many good goaltenders and so many good defenders and so many capable NHL players at this stage, and not enough good forwards. Like, you could see that there are probably a few really good forwards in the NHL, but the depth really does stay consistent throughout all of these teams. Oh man, that's a bad defensive core. It's just all bottom 6 defenders. Jeez, New York, what are you doing? So, yeah, it kind of sucks. So, if any of you guys have played GM mode up until, like, this late, 2042, you guys should let me know in the comments down below. Talk about all the similarities that we've had, how many cups you've won and whatnot, but I think we can all agree on something, that once you get into this stage, you can't really expect the same kind of league as you get in year 1, with, like, the Matthews, the Crosby, and everything. You'd still have those star players, that's for sure, but the fact of the matter is, there are just so many good players at this stage that the goal totals become lessened. There was only one player who got 50 goals 2 seasons ago, and then last season, in my season, there was only one player that got 40. So that sucks. That really does suck, and you know, we're all for more goals and everything, and we're all for better teams, and these are literally better teams, but it's just that the goal scoring, it goes down, and that's the biggest point I want to stress about playing GM mode up until 2022, or no, not 2022, 2042, Jesus, that's 20 years removed. But looking at all these teams, I mean, San Jose, they've consistently been getting good draft picks, and looking at all these players, like, their best 5 forwards have all been drafted by them. And then the guy who was signed to Vancouver, Picard, he was drafted by San Jose as well. They've got a really good forward core. I guarantee you that none of these guys, even these two, if you look at their power play, why is this guy on the first line power play? Looking at all these guys, none of these guys are going to crack 50 goals right away. There's nobody that's going to crack 50 goals because it hasn't happened in a few years. Like, the goaltenders are just so good now. Okay, not this pair of goaltenders, but this pair. Ian Connor, he's 90 overall. Sidney Crosby was 91 overall coming out of the gate on this video game. So, I mean, I like what they did with the overalls and everything. I like that they changed it so that 95 isn't, like, the best, or isn't the best. It's 91 now because it's Crosby, but you can still go beyond that. And I didn't like how Taves was 94 in the previous games, and like you had so many players over 90. This game there was only like 5 or 6, I'm guessing off the top of my head, that were at or above like 90. So that's good. But now if you look at the league today, in this game, 2042, there are way too many players up at 90. It's like NHL 15 all over again. So many good players and so many good defenders, so many good defensive ratings that the goal scoring goes down. And Toronto, they're doing all right. I mean, Veilleux and Krause, these two are very, very good. Topi Hacken is also a player that was drafted by Vancouver in the second round. He was good. Yeah, you can just see it. You can just see it. These teams, none of these teams, if you're a fan of any of these teams in the NHL and you watch this video and you look at your own team's roster, you're not going to be disappointed because all of these teams are good teams. And legitimately, there isn't a bad team in this league. There are just some teams that are just not as good as the others. All of these teams are very good teams, and if you played any of these teams today with, like, let's say 2 star players and a really good depth core, these teams would be like top 5 in today's NHL. And if you want to look at the video game, because taking a look at the video game, year 1, a lot of these teams don't have good depth. And a lot of the teams today in 2042, they have solid depth. So that's all of the NHL teams. And going back to Vancouver's, just looking at ours over here, as I said, our team is like the only team that will be able to get over 2.7 goals a game because of our stacked forward core. And all of these guys, I mean, only this guy, this guy, this guy, and then this guy. Only these 4 were the guys who were drafted by our team. I got this team building through free agency, building through the draft, and trades and everything. Really strong trading overall. But this team, man, this is the last team of NHL 18 for me. After this team is done, I might just start another GM mode or something. Maybe do something else, I don't know. But I have like 40 gameplays saved already going up to this time frame, so you won't see videos with this team up until like 40 videos down the line, because all of my Canucks gameplays, they're just waiting to be used, and once there's a Canucks story, then I'll use them. So overall, I mean, this was a really pointless video. I don't get why anybody would sit down and watch this unless they wanted to see their own specific team, but if you stuck around the whole way, huge kudos to you, man. This was one take, and overall it was a video that I don't really know if I feel was worthy enough to be uploaded, but I'm gonna upload it anyway because I feel like some people would be interested into seeing what the team was like, what the NHL was like in the year 2042. So, yeah, I mean, this is the year 2041, 2042. It's the last year of GM mode. After this, the game mode is finished, and that's it. That's it. This Vancouver Canucks team, I made it absolutely stacked for a reason, because I really wanted to win the cup in the last year, and I think that this team is definitely going to win the cup. Our 4th line is as good as some other teams' 2nd lines, and our 2nd line is as good, or even better, than a lot of other teams' 1st lines. Our 3rd line is arguably one of the best lines in the league in comparison to these other 2. So, yeah. Vancouver Canucks, I made this team stacked for a reason. This is what the NHL looks like in the year 2041, 2042. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Twitter, Google+, Instagram, controls like Master Wrestling and Gaming. I've been talking for 24 minutes straight. Oh my goodness, it feels so good. And bye.